What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Trick 10s. Now we're going to pick up right where we left off with this dreaded battery tray that I had installed in the wrong direction. I went ahead and cut it out, and I'm going to make a new one now. The way I did it was pretty simple. I bent it like a hat section. That way it dropped into the hole and it had flanges on the sides of it. That way I could come back and shoot rivets through the subfloor, and it worked out pretty easily. It did take me about 3, maybe 4 hours to do this, but it doesn't look bad, and it really doesn't take up as much space as I thought it was going to take. I was able to tuck it up underneath that side close to the black box. But this build is really coming together, man. This video is going to get you up to the point where the turf is installed. I'm getting ready to start putting decals and stuff on it, so it's a pretty sweet video, and it's definitely a huge step in the game of building this boat. I mean, a lot of my build series, if you've seen them in the past, they're like 13 plus episodes, at least 10. So this is a little different. I'm trying to squeeze this whole build series into like 7 episodes, because this is episode 6. So this compartment turned out really good the way it's set up now. This battery can be pulled out of here easily, and the way it's sitting leaves enough space on either side of it for me to put his battery charger and the fuse for the trolling motor. Threw a coat of paint on this thing. I had to paint it because I wasn't going to be able to get up in there and turf every inch of it. I wanted it to have a black look if I couldn't get in there and turf it all. These 2 compartments are a little different. They are going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt to finish everything up on, but it turned out sweet. Now that hole I just drilled in the center, that's where his gas line is going to run through. I didn't put it as close to the transom as I originally wanted to because I just couldn't. The way the framing was, it wasn't an option. I kind of honestly forgot about it until I started putting the hatches in there that were already built. So it's going to be fine though. That motor, it sticks over. It has a big arm on the front of it like a handle. So I don't think it's going to be in the way. And I've got a rubber grommet I'm going to throw in there. This takes a lot of time. I mean, it took me about 4 nights just to do all of this metalwork installation. I mean, you got to keep everything clean, and I got to keep everything perfect as I go. But there's the back deck. All the metal work is installed. Turned out really sick. Lots of rivets. Everything's nice and tight. Everything's flush, and it fits exactly the way it should. Now, this is a 24-volt MillerTech battery that Ryan picked up. They also gave him a charger for each battery. This is a 24-volt one up front. I put the 12 one in the back right next to the other battery. This part was a little tricky. I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to finish this off. Now, I welded that trolling motor bracket up on the front of the side and the gunnel, and I just wanted to come up with some way to attach it to the deck. I wanted to have something that was going to look sleek and not really be in the way. I didn't want to close that whole area off and attach it to the main deck, so I attached it to the transition piece that I had earlier put in, and it worked out really good. I mean, it looks sick. I did go ahead and bend the edge on it. I riveted it in through the existing piece, and then I came back and I ended up bolting it through there. I had to paint it black though. I just hit it with some flat black, and then I put like 2 coats of gloss clear over it. I think it looks really good though. You'll see it finish up in a second. This build turned out to be a lot more intricate than I thought it was going to be in the beginning, but I mean, they all do. It's just the way it goes. I get into it and I just can't do it half-assed. It's got to be perfect. And I have so many ideas and thoughts that come to me while I'm going that I just run with it a lot of times. So this thing is really over the top. I mean, there's not a wasted inch in the entire boat. This thing turned out really good. So you can see I got the tender, and his fuse for the trolling motor cables is right behind that. I did make a little wall on the other side of it too for storage. That's where I was laying off my holes. Really careful with this. Everything was all finished, and I didn't want to scratch it up, but I think it looks cool. I'll go over how I ran all this wiring shortly, because it was definitely difficult to make sure that everything will be ready for Angler's Choice. Looks pretty cool though, huh? Put a couple of rivets in the bottom, a couple bolts in the top, but I think it looks cool the way it's set up. It's definitely one of a kind. Just doing some little filler pieces up front. I'll explain all this. This is a lot for Angler's Choice. I'm cutting some holes in here and stuff for them, and they're basically access holes, but it's a sweet little cup holder. I love putting the cup holders in the boat. I've got a couple others that I'm going to incorporate into the back side panels too. I haven't finished those up, but I'm going to put those in there last minute. I love these Garmin Force trolling motors. I'm really looking forward to taking this thing out on the water and playing with it. I did just pick up one of these for myself too. I'm gonna put that into my wife's boat, the Stratos Poseidon. I'm gonna try to get that put in there tomorrow. All right, so I got this whole front deck area finished up. All the wiring is done. We've got this wire sticking out here. This is gonna be for the power for the Garmin foot pedal, come up through the foot pedal tray. And then I've got a hole here. This is the cup holder. It's gonna drop in here. It's also an access point. I have humongous hands. I can fit my hands inside of here, fish wires. It works out perfectly to have a cup holder in here to be able to access up underneath of this deck. Now I did throw in this little USB-C charger, and I think it's sweet up here because his graph is gonna be right here, and then this is like a dead zone. And I spend most of the majority of my time up on the front of my boat, and I would rather have like my cell phone or GoPro up here. It's all gonna be turf, it's gonna be protected, and it's out of the way. And you don't have to worry about somebody in the back of the boat stepping on your stuff while it's charging. So I threw it right there, and I think it's pretty dope. I did make this bracket right here, this triangular bracket. I bolted it down through on the back side over here, and I've got these rivets shot through here. It looks cool. It kind of matches the silver up in the trolling motor. I think it looks dope. It's gonna look really good once everything is turf. But this part of the video is for anybody who is trying to upgrade at a later date and doesn't have all the stuff they're putting in, but still want to make it easier on yourself later down the road, which is the whole reason I'm doing this, is because Angler's Choice is going to be installing the graph and the black box. I do not have those two things. It would make a lot more sense for me to put them in now, but they're going to be doing that. So I try to make it as easy as possible. So what they're going to have is the transducer. The live scope transducer is going to mount onto the shaft of the trolling motor, and they're going to have to route that cable back up here. Now, Angler's Choice, you have two options. You can either come back up underneath the face right here, or you can bring it along this side and then hook it up in the front and come back through here, or you can put another hole here and put a grommet like I did there. Now, if you decide to do that, please make sure that the wires for this are pushed out of the way because they are right behind here. And if you drill through here, you're gonna end up cutting through those wires. It's gonna be a pain in the butt. So if you do that, make sure those wires are out of the way. Now, underneath of this deck, you can see up inside of here, all those wires are run through a hole. There's a hole up in there. It's the same exact size as this cup holder. It's big, I deburred it. You got a lot of room in there. And what I've got is this cable is going in there, and it's also coming up out here. So what you're gonna have to do, you're going to run your first transducer cable coming up, however you're gonna mount it, get it up underneath of here, and then fish it through there. You're gonna tie it onto here. Get it hooked up onto here, nice and tight, tape it good. You're gonna have to force it through as you're going and pull it from here. Once you get it routed under and up through here, then you have this one. This cable right here is connected through here, back down this side, and I added this piece of PVC pipe in here. The only reason for this is because I don't want them to pull that cable for that transducer head. That thing's big, it's 1.25 inches. So I don't want it to get stuck up in here. So they're gonna have to pull that through this side right here. Now, if it does get stuck, you can reach up inside of here. You can get inside of here, just like this. You can pull this out. You can help it get through there if you need to. Once it's inside of there, it should be smooth sailing because that comes all the way back inside of here, and then it brings you right out to where the black box is gonna be mounting right here. Now, I do have power ran for that. It's marked right here, black box. So you're gonna have your red and your black. That's gonna be the power for the actual black box. And this white wire is just your fish cable. Before you fish this transducer cable from this hole all the way back down inside of this box where it's gonna have the black box mounted, you need to attach not just the transducer to it, but you also need to attach the cable that's gonna be running back up here to the graph. So I would attach my 1.25 inch plug first, and then right behind that, I would attach the other cable that's gonna be running back up here to the graph. So that way you can pull them both through at the same time, and then you'll have the opposite end here. Now, I am going to put a hole here, and then I will have another wire that comes from here to here. So then you can just hook this one up and pull it through there, fish it up and out. I did put this extra piece up here. The whole reason for this is because this is very thin, and this is where the graph's gonna mount. Now, this is the same cradle that the 126 is going to sit in. That's what they're going to be installing. You should just be able to center this thing up, get it flush with the front of this edge right here, or sticking in just a little bit, and then put some big stainless steel self-tappers in here, and that should be more than enough to hold this graph in place. It should be pretty simple. And you'll see after I get this turf, I'm going to have a hole right here with the grommet on it, and they'll be able to pull all these cables up through here. I'm going to go ahead and pull this cable through, so it'll be sticking out, and they'll see exactly how it should be hooked up. It should be pretty simple, and it should not be a big deal to hook this up. I mean, it's definitely going to be a little bit harder than it would be right now, but it is what it is. They want to install it, so I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for them. I'm making a lot of progress on this boat. I've already got the entire back deck finished up, and I got all the wiring. Everything's all wrapped up. I'm getting ready to put these decks in here, the tops, and these hatches here and here, and all the rest of this is getting the metal work in. I'm gonna start turfing this thing. I'm gonna stuff this side over here with foam. I'm gonna put a little bit more foam over here too. I don't wanna put too much though, because I don't want it to get in the way of the wires. I'm also gonna come back and put some more foam inside of here before I put this recessed foot pedal tray in there. Let's get back to work, guys. All right, so the closed cell foam. I put this in all of the builds. It's pretty nice because it comes in different thicknesses from 1/2 inch all the way up to 2 inch. I don't really like using that pour foam. It's a pain in the butt to install, and if it ever gets wet, it will just hold that water, and that weight will just sit in the boat forever. Now these pieces right here, this is for the side panel, and I had to make some little adjustments on this. You can see how I've got like a little leg sticking off on one side. I did that on purpose just because the way it mounts on that angle, it kind of splits the difference, and this one is actually sitting up and around the face of the hatch on that side right there. It made it really nice for with the turf install. It kept the entire deck flush. One thing about these riveted boats, especially this one, it has a tremendous roll on the existing bench edges. As you can see when I set that hatch in there, that's why I made those hatches the way they are. The flanges are sticking over that roll. That way it's sitting on the angle that the other hatch is meeting up on. I did that on purpose with all of my seams because if not, it's gonna have that big void right there. And I don't think that the turf would look good unless that metal was flush all the way around it. It's definitely one thing to keep in mind if you're thinking about building one of these out. That Milwaukee M12 rivet gun is the bomb. That thing has saved my hands, and I should have bought one of those a long time ago. But it's definitely come in handy at the shop. We've been building tons of hatches. It seems like ever since I started this build series that is just blown up with a lot of people seeing it, and I've gotten tons of orders. I mean, we're shipping out 2, 3, even 4 times a week, just big orders. I do appreciate that. All you guys have been hitting me up for some hatches. It's definitely appreciated, guys. We're turning these hatches out quick. You should have them in less than 2 weeks from the time you order them. Unless you get them powder coated, it might take a little bit longer, but it's definitely worth getting them powder coated if you're gonna get them. Now, if you wanna send me a message, the easiest way and best way to reach me is through professionalwelding@gmail.com. Send me an email. I will respond to you. Leave me your number, as much information as you can. I'll call you. I'll walk you through the whole process of the build and find out what type of boat you're working on. I'll give you any insight I can, try to help you guys out. You want any custom parts, I'll make anything, not just hatches. I make custom hatches, live wells, day boxes, dry boxes, you know, graph bridges, anything you want, I'll be glad to help you out. And the business is definitely booming. I appreciate that, guys. Putting a couple more pieces up here around the foot pedal tray, just trying to finish this thing off. The only thing I hate about this boat is up on the front of it, it has the ribs that stick above the deck, and it was just too thin for me to weld those holes up. It would have looked terrible, so I didn't want it to warp. I just let them ride, and it's not the end of the world. It doesn't look that bad. You can see them right there on that piece. It did make cutting those pieces a little bit difficult though. I got them cut out and it looks really good. The gaps aren't too big, they're not too tight, and I think it works out perfect. I got a lot of metal in this whole entire boat, but it's all worth it. I mean, this thing is gonna be really sick when it's completely finished up. At this stage of the game, it gets really repetitive. I mean, I'm putting hundreds of rivets in, same thing, drilling holes, countersinking, and it's just like I'm running in cruise control. I'm just coasting through all of this. I've done it so many times. Just have so much running through my head, just trying to finish this thing up. Think about how sick it's gonna be when it's done. I think about all the people that just hated on me and told me I could never do this and that I would never be able to make all these crazy boats that I'm doing. And a lot of this is like motivation for me. I like it. These guys are hating on me, and it's, you ain't got haters and you ain't doing something right. This little piece on the side right here, I did have to tweak this a little bit. I had to hammer that original bench seat down because it was not put in there perfectly level, but I got it all in there. I'm gonna clean this thing up and I'm gonna get ready to put some turf in here, guys. CNC cut turf though. It was not exactly the CNC cut turf I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be stacked, where it has different colors, and where it cuts through with the CNC, it would be different colors, but didn't work out that way. It's really hard to see these letters, and it was extremely hard to install it. I mean, all of these letters are individual pieces in there, and just taking the sticky back off of it was a nightmare. And it was really hard to get them all lined up perfectly. I took it completely off of the whole back of all the letters and everything and tried to keep it as one unit. And actually, when I got later on into the floor piece, I couldn't do it that way. It was just too big. So I had to install the first sheet of the camo and then come back and put all the little black pieces in. I do not recommend using the turf like this. It's very hard. It takes a lot more time. And if you get it wrong, then it's going to be really hard to fix it because you're going to have to order new letters. I turfed this whole front part up here. This thing turned out good. Threw the cup holder in there, even turfed up inside of this piece on the side. I might even do some more turf up on this deck on the sides. Not 100% sure yet. But this piece on the side was just another piece that I put in there. I kept the brush going from bow to stern. And this piece on the other side, I actually used the piece that they sent us that was wrong, that says Trick 10s on it. I cut that part out of it. I thought it was pretty cool. I had the piece and it fit perfectly in there. It was a little bit difficult to install, again, because the letters all wanted to fall out. Not as hard as this floor piece, though. This floor turned out really sick. It's got the big boat logo in it and the Trick 10s logos, but I did not take all of the stickers off the back of these letters. And it definitely took me a whole lot longer to come back and pull each letter out, take the sticky back off it, and then put it back in there. It was very, very time consuming. But this thing turned out sick. I'm going to let y'all watch the end of this, and I'm going to have a little outro coming up for you guys. Thank y'all for watching. All right, guys, so what you think? Turns out pretty dope, right? All the turf is installed on the top deck of the entire boat. I still got to do all the turf inside the hatches, and I have a ton of stickers for this thing. I got 3 colors of decals, the complete decal set in 3 colors. It's a lot of stickers. I got red, white, and black. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to install those. I want to stack them and 3D them. I don't know. I got to figure all that out. But the thing looks dope, man. All the handles are installed. All the wiring is done. Everything's finished. Trolling motor's all hooked up. Got the outboard hung on the bracket. I mean, this whole rig came together, and I'm starting to get hyped about it now because I only have 1 episode left of this series that's going to run on the channel. And it's basically going to be me finishing up all the rest of the stuff I just mentioned in a hyperlapse video. It'll probably be about 7 to 8 minutes. And then the second half of that video is going to be the on the water reveal. I'm going to walk through the entire rig, show you guys every inch of it, all the lights inside, all the compartments and storage, and I'm going to test this outboard motor. I'm going to see what type of speeds this thing can get, and I'm pretty hyped about that. Never built a 1436, but this one will definitely give any 1436 a run for its money. I'm getting ready to head out of town, guys. It's Tuesday night, and I'm leaving in the morning to go to Lake Gaston. I'll be back on Sunday. Ryan's coming to pick this boat up the following weekend. So that only gives me the weeknights of next week. So I'm praying that we have some good weather. I'm trying to put this thing out in the water. I want to see what it can do. I appreciate you guys watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'm not getting back to work. I'm going out of town. I'll see y'all next time.